Hello, lovely student. Welcome to my next lesson on decision making. And in this lesson, we're going to be looking at an activity that you will be working through. Let's take a look at it. So using your existing project that we just did, you're going to add two buttons. One called Calculate Rate, using the nested if statement, and the next button, Calculate Rate, using the case statement. You're going to allow the user to input the number of hours using an input box, and your program must display the rate charged. So Andrew runs a gardening service, and his rates are displayed in the table below. If his employee serviced your garden and the time taken was between 1 and 2 hours, inclusive, Andrew will charge 250 Rand. If the garden service was between 3 and 4 hours, both inclusive, Andrew will charge 200 Rand. If the garden service was between 5 to 6 hours, the charge is 175. And between 7 to 8, both inclusive, the rate is 150. So you're going to add to the existing Delphi program, put on two buttons, and get coding. So let's take a look at the Delphi coding for activity 2. So I've asked you to put two T buttons. The first one, you have to change your caption to calculate rate using the if statement or the nested if statement, and the other T button, calculate rate using the case statement. Let's go and check what the coding looks like for using the nested if statement. Okay, so I created a variable called I_hours, which is of data type integer, and I've created a variable for the rate, which is of data type double. I then entered the number of hours using an input box. Note when you use an input box, it enters a value as string, and you've got to convert it using string to int. Okay, I then cleared my memo, and now I'm checking if the hours is either 1 or 2 hours, and I'm using the in operator. So basically I'm saying, using the in operator, check if the number of hours is either 1 or 2. If it matches the set, then you can execute the statement and calculate the rate, and rate is going to be assigned 250. If that condition is false, it'll go into the next else if, and it'll now check the hours is in the set, either 3 or 4. If this condition does not match the set, it won't execute the rate at 200. It will then go into the next else if, and it will check if the number of hours is either 5 or 6. If it matches the set, it will assign rate at 175. If the condition does not match the set, then it'll go into the next else if, and it'll check if the number of hours is either in the set 7 or 8. If it's true, it'll execute rate at 150. If it's false, it'll go into the else statement, and it will display exceeds maximum hours. So that was a very easy solution using the nested if and using the in operator. Learners, it's very easy to use the in operator. You just need to get used to it. And once you get used to it, it does become much simpler. Okay. And the last bit of my coding is I'm displaying the number of hours and I'm displaying the rate formatted using float to string F, formatted to currency with 2 decimal spaces. Let's run that and see how it looks. So using the if statement, the nested if statement, I'm going to enter the number of hours and let's enter 5 and it should display 175. Let's try it again and let's enter 7 hours and it's going to display 150. And one more time, let's enter 2 hours. It should display 250. Okay, so let's look at what the coding is going to look like using the case statement. Now note, your code is much shorter. The case statement is also very easy to read and use. Let's look at it. So again, I created a variable, I-hours, the data type is integer. I created D-rate, data type double. I got the number of hours using an input box. I cleared my memo and now I'm using case I-hours off. The variable to be tested is of data type integer, the number of hours. I'm then checking my first case and I'm checking the variable if that I-hours is either case 1 or case 2. If it is true and it matches this case, it will execute D-rate and it will assign a value of 250 to the variable called D-rate. If it does not match this case, it then goes to the next case and it checks if I-hours matches this case and is it either 3 or 4. If it does match, it's going to execute that statement. If it does not match, it goes into the next case and it checks if I-hours is either 5 or 6. If it is true and it does match, D-rate is assigned 175. If it does not match, it goes into the next case and it checks if I-hours is either 7 or 8. If it does match, it executes the statement. If none of the cases match, it then goes into the else statement and it's going to display exceeds maximum hours. Note, there is no semicolon at the end of the keyword off. The case statement does not have a begin, but it has a corresponding end. I then display the number of hours. And do not forget that you need to convert the hours from int to string if you're displaying on a memo. I then display the rate using float to string F, and I'm using FF currency, the field width of 8, and 2 decimal places. Using the case statement, it makes your program very easy, simple to read, simple to understand, and very smooth flowing. Wonderful programming practice, wonderful alternative solution instead of using the nested if. Let's run this program and see how it works. So calculate the rate using case, and I'm going to enter 6. It's going to display 175 as the rate. Let's try another alternative. Let's go 2 hours, and it's going to display the rate at 250. Thank you, learners, for listening. It has been an absolute pleasure teaching you. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Stay motivated, stay inspired, and follow me on my next video.